Today on Getting Real with the Housewives, Emily Simpson reveals there is trouble ahead for Heather Dubrow.
I think Heather ends up isolated and kind of on her own island, her own private island that she bought.
Plus, Real Housewives of New York star Chyna Silva breaks down the trip to the Hamptons and calls out Jessel's behavior.
I thought it was a really distasteful moment for her, and I mean, hence why I called it out.
And Kyle Richards clarifies why she hasn't been wearing her ring amid her marriage woes. We got that plus so much more on today's Getting Real with the Housewives. Hey guys, Christina Yarbaldi here with SVZ executive producer Mandy Camp, and welcome to another week of Getting Real with the Housewives. 2 weeks into RHONY, still loving it.
Still loving it. We'll get into that in a bit. I'm so excited for the season, the fresh faces. It's in the fashion. This is what I'm so into with Housewives. I mean, I love all the drama and stuff, but I love being inspired by their fashion, by their apartments. You know, it's kind of fun to take a step back and do that again with Housewives.
Definitely. All right, well, let's get into comments from last week. One user said Bethany did not know that Jill was not informed either. They were both hoodwinked, talking about, bringing the cameras to Bobby's funeral. And it does seem like they were a bit taken off guard. So not the best approach, I guess.
No, definitely not.
All right, well, let's get into our news of the week. And we got a lot, and kicking off with Kyle Richards. And she said that her family was relieved when the news broke that she and Mauricio were on the rocks. She did an Amazon Live event, and she explained that while staying quiet about the problems in their marriage was worse than actually speaking out about them. She said, actually, all of us, our daughters and Mauricio and me, we all felt better after because so many people were speculating and making up stories, and it was just getting out of control. Now, she said things have not been easy for the couple, but her daughters are handling the situation pretty well. She said, they're really strong. Listen, they know that we all love each other, and they're old enough to understand that not everything is perfect all of the time, and that's okay. And no matter what, they're loved. So it seems like everybody is handling this pretty well. She's still not saying split. She's just saying on the rocks. I guess they're not talking about divorce. She said, she was photographed not wearing her ring because she was just working out at the gym. I mean, I never wear my ring either, but I'm not being photographed all the time. So
I usually, ironically, took mine off this week. So I'm the type of person I wear it all the time because if I don't, I'll lose it. But it was hurting me after flying on a plane this week, I think from being swollen. And look, it left.
Oh no.
I know. I have a tattoo now.
Oh. Permanent mark.
And now it won't go back on.
Oh no.
I totally get not wearing your ring all the time.
Right. Oh my God, that's too funny. Well, I mean, we're definitely going to see it play out this season. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if a split is in the future. Hopefully not. 27 years of marriage, 4 daughters.
I'm curious if this whole thing will actually bring them closer together because they have to communicate about it.
Yeah.
They have to talk about what happened. We'll see, but I don't see them splitting. I mean, I never saw them splitting, so this all came as a big surprise to me. And I'm Team Mauricio and Kyle working it out.
Me too.
All right, well, back to Kim Zolciak-Biermann and her husband Corey, who called off their divorce earlier this month, but some of their friends believe their reunion will not last. An insider told us they are still living together, but every day is an uphill battle. Those close to them think the reconciliation will be short-lived. They filed to dismiss their divorce, but a source says the duo have not fully worked out their issues. They added, there's too much hatred towards each other. There's a lot of shit talking, and it's hard to see how this will be solved. They are also not seeking counseling. In May, they filed for divorce after 11 years of marriage, and their court battle quickly escalated with the twosome battling for custody of their 4 children, we know. So, yeah.
I don't see this working out after everything that happened in just a couple of months. The body cam footage from the police, the accusations being thrown towards one another. I feel like this is a temporary Band-Aid, and then things are just going to blow up later on. I really do.
Right. Because this is what we're seeing. What's really happening behind closed doors. If it's this bad, what we're seeing.
Right. No, totally. It's gotta be like a war in that house. It really does. I mean, it's not good.
Yeah.
Well, Kim's former co-star Nene actually sat down with Carlos King, who is a former producer of Real Housewives of Atlanta. He has a great Reality with the King podcast. We've spoken to him before, and Nene sat down for the first time in a very long time and spilled all the tea about the show. Thought this was interesting. She talked a little bit about her salary, and she said that she made a total of $10,000 to film the first season of the show, got an extra $5,000 for the reunion special, and said that season 2, she got $50,000. they all kind of rallied together for, seasons afterwards and ended up making $150,000, per season. So as the show developed in the beginning, Nene began to notice that things kind of changed once Kenya got on board. She said, our stories were real. Everything we talked about and did was real. When we had disagreements, they were real. We didn't pretend like we had a boyfriend when we didn't have one. Then I think once Kenya came on the show, I'm not saying that Kenya started it or did it, but at that moment, it started to be like, let's create our storyline. Well, we didn't create a storyline. We just showed up to work and was just filming and being who we are. She also revealed that she didn't know Cynthia Bailey before the show. They had a lunch, and she actually thought that she wasn't good for the Housewives. But once she met her ex, Peter Thomas, that is when she knew that producers would be interested for her on the show. She also talked about her son's arrest for the first time, his drug addiction. She really went in on a lot of different topics. And we haven't heard from Nene in quite some time, but I feel like the show really, legal issues aside that she's had with Bravo, the show really does need her, needs something. This season has been very lackluster.
I miss Nene for sure. What do you think about the salary? Is it lower or higher than you thought it would be? Yeah.
Low in the beginning, but that was like one of the first seasons of the show. But I think it was, New York and then Atlanta. So not really surprising. I feel like probably now they do. I would think that they make more, but I mean, you got to think about it. So they film for a couple months, take a little bit of a break, and then you're on the press tours and everything like that for a really long time. So you probably only get like a 2 or 3 month break. So in the grand scheme of things, if this is your full-time job, yes, it's a lot of money, but if you're looking at somebody on TV, maybe it's not as much as you think.
It's true. I think it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. Also, OC was the very first one. So I wonder what
my God. Sorry. Oh my God. They're going to come after me. I'm sorry.
I knew what you meant. You meant OC.
Yes.
It was less than I thought it would be. Not saying like that they necessarily deserve more or whatever for what they're doing. I think the smart people are like the Bethany Frankels who use the show as their platform for their company and really make a living off of something, their side hustle.
Totally.
Like the Craig Conover who made a whole sewing career out of this and now has a store on King Street in Charleston. I think, those are the smart people who don't use this as their, you obviously could live off of $150,000 per season, but you could make a lot more if you're smart with it. All right, well, moving on to New York, Jenna Lyons' career in fashion was actually inspired by her experience with her genetic disorder, which she just kind of opened up about. It's called incontinentia pigmenti, and it prevents her from growing hair, teeth, and eyelashes. So I saw this appearance that she did, and I had no idea. It was on The View. She said, what it means is that all my teeth are fake. I paid a lot of money for them. My hair is also fake. I could take it off like a hat. It's not a wig. My eyelashes are fake and I have no eyebrows and I have scars all over my skin, which explains her tagline this season. Makes a lot more sense. She continued, it's one of the reasons I went into fashion and beauty because I wanted to look better. I was constantly trying to fit in. However, finding products that worked on Lyons proved to be a struggle. She said, when I was doing a lot of red carpets, I kept trying to find eyelashes that look good and they were just huge on me. I couldn't wear them, which I totally understand that I could never wear fake eyelashes. So I am curious to try hers.
Yes.
In 2020, Lyons took matters into her own hands and created a line of lashes that aren't as over the top. I had no idea.
I think we were talking maybe last week being like, why is Jenna Lyons just working on an eyelash thing, coming from J. Crew? Or maybe I was thinking that. And I was like, now that explains it. She's probably not the only person that suffers from this. So she wants to make sure that people have things that are accessible to them, that work for them. And I think that's really great. And I wonder if she's going to open up a little bit about this a little bit more on the season. She did talk, I think, in the first episode about her scars and things like that. So
in episode 2, this episode, she talked about the scars. So she does open up about it a bit. It's so interesting to me, her story now that like she went into fashion. With all of these, with this disorder and kind of taking it and running with it and making herself look incredible every day and just owning it.
I love her. I think she's too good for this show. I hope she stays around.
I know.
You're too good for us, Jenna. You really are.
You really are. It's so good.
All right. Well, speaking of RHONY, we recently caught up with Silva, who spoke about her relationship with Jenna and how it kind of changed over the course of the season. And she revealed if Erin is really as bad of a host as we see, and her thoughts on Jess. I'll take a look.
In this upcoming episode, we head out east to Long Island in the winter, which, Erin, I think maybe wasn't the best host. Would you say? She didn't feed everybody. Were you surprised?
She's a horrible host. She's a horrible host. If you don't have food,
You lost me.
You lost me.
Yeah, if you don't have good toilet paper and food for me, I can't stay there.
Do you bring your own toilet paper wherever you go?
Not necessarily, it just depends. I didn't trust Erin. I had a feeling that she was going to give me one ply.
Did she redeem herself throughout the season? Do you still consider her like not the best host?
I don't think she didn't really host that much after. I think she learned her lesson. We're not easy to please.
Yes.
These girls are not easy to please.
No. What did you make of your first girls trip? Was it everything that you thought of, or was it completely different?
I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a blast, but I'm a girl's girl. Yeah. At the end of the day, I love hanging out with my friends, like my friends and their family that I choose at the end of the day. You know, we cracked open the wine, sat by the fire. We had a really, really good time. And then after hours, we got a little loud and we danced all night long, and it was fun.
It was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
What was your first impressions of Jenna? You know, it seems like she's, you know, a little bit guarded in the beginning. You know, this is not something completely different for her. She said she's never been on a girls' trip like this before. So did you notice that her walls were up a little bit in the beginning?
Yes. I think Jenna's just not used to being around tons of women in a girl group, I guess you can say. You know, Jenna likes her space. She's a little bit older than us, so it makes sense that, you know, she kind of wants things to be in that particular way. So she is not necessarily guarded. She's just a little bit quirky and used to things, used to her running the ship.
What was the issue? Jessel, you know, in the upcoming episode, we see her, you know, not loving her lingerie. Did you feel like that was a little rude?
I thought it was extremely rude. Yeah, I thought it was a really distasteful moment for her, and I mean, hence why I called it out. So, yeah. It wasn't the best.
I mean, what do you think? We'll get into our recap of RHONY in just a second, but lots of thoughts on the
caviar on a potato chip is a thing. That's like a fancy thing. Fancy restaurants do it. So I'm Team Erin on this one.
I love it.
We also chatted with OC housewife Emily Simpson about Heather Dubrow and how she's distanced herself from the group.
You know, why did you feel the need to apologize to Heather in this episode as well?
You know, I think it's important to always apologize and take responsibility for your own actions and things. And I always want to be cognizant of, you know, my own part. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect friend. And so I think it's important to take a step back and say, you know what, you made me feel like this, or I didn't like this, but you're right. I shouldn't have done that. So, you know, it's just, relationships are a two-way street, and each person has to kind of wiggle a little. So I'm always open to wiggling, to taking responsibility for my part.
Yeah. How did Gina feel about it?
Oh, about the episode or about?
No, about you apologizing to Heather. Did she feel any way towards that?
I don't know. No, she didn't say one thing or the other, so I don't know.
Do you feel like Heather needed to apologize to Gina? Do you think that she was trying to be a good friend, or do you think that she was being a little judgmental?
I do feel that Heather's intent always is to be a good friend. I don't think Heather's a bad person, and she's definitely not evil or anything like that. I don't think she has, you know, she wants to make anyone look bad or make anyone feel bad. I think that a lot of times just her own personality can make it seem that way, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Would you consider her a good friend?
I do. And, you know, I think Heather is difficult to navigate sometimes, and I'm getting better at it. I think there's a learning curve, and I think this season, my relationship with her is a learning curve. So, you know.
Who surprised you the most this season, going into it and then ending?
Probably Heather, just because we were very close when we finished filming last season, and we actually spent a lot of time together, not on camera, just hanging out and having lunch and talking. And then when we started filming, I felt like she was very different than the Heather I knew before. And so I don't know, I just felt like it was a little disappointing. And so I would have said going into the season that Heather and I would have been really close, and I probably would have had friction with Shannon or with Tamara coming back. But it just ends up, that's the fun of reality shows though, is like you can't ever predict. You can think one thing and then the exact opposite happens.
Right. It was interesting. I spoke to Shannon, I think at the beginning of the season, and she said Heather is kind of alone this season. Do you agree with that statement?
I do. I think Heather ends up isolated and kind of on her own island, her own private island that she bought. But I think that a lot of it is by her own doing, and she would probably disagree with me, and that's fine. we'll disagree at the reunion, but I do think that she does a lot of things that isolates herself from everyone else.
Heather's on an island of her own, so that she paid for. So
Yeah, exactly.
Not so bad. Not so
Good for
bad.
her.
All right. Well, let's get into our recaps. And like you said, caviar and chips is enough.
I'm fine with it. I'd be happy if I went to a party in the Hamptons and they served me caviar and chips. I would be all about it, except I wouldn't go Pringles. I'm not a Pringles girl. I would put it on like a nice Ridge trip.
Yes, a nice Ridge. Yes. But I mean, the thought was there. Have you ever been to Provisions?
Yes, I have. Yes, of course.
Is it good? Is it live up to the hype?
Yeah, but everything there is so expensive. It's like gonna be, $50 for a chip. So I don't, but yeah, if you're in the Hamptons, go to Provisions for sure. So.
All right. So what did you think about Jenna's gift? Jessel's reaction to the gift? I mean, come on.
I mean, it was not the most flattering lingerie. It did not fit her. And it was a little frumpy and grandma-like. And if I was Jessel, I wouldn't have worn it out.
No.
I would have just been like, thank you. And I put it in my bedroom for later.
Right. But the way that she carried on about it though, it
was pretty rude.
You take the gift.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It goes in your closet and you never talk about it again.
Exactly. It was a bit much, but this whole storyline also about her not having sex after kids.
Yes.
I mean, she asked for it,
Right. I mean, but that's a lot. She said she hasn't had sex since she had her babies, which was over a year ago.
Yeah.
And so based on, my conversation with Sai, it seems like her marriage is definitely a topic of conversation this season, which, rightfully so, if you're going to admit to that. But hopefully
and then they're strong enough to survive the reality TV curse, because I mean, having your sex life be brought up on episode 2 and be the main storyline for the entire hour can't be easy for her husband to watch.
Definitely not. Definitely not. And then we learn a little bit more about Jenna's story, about her coming out and how it wasn't her decision at all, which has to be something that is extremely difficult to deal with. It came out in an article and she was forced to come out to her family about it, who didn't even know. But thoughts on her now keeping her girlfriend off camera. Do you think that is fair? Because like Sai says in the show, I mean, you signed up to be a housewife, you should be showing your life.
It's always a tricky situation. I think it's a case-by-case thing. You're Jenna Lyons. You're the most celebrity of this group.
Yeah.
We are interested in your story for other reasons. So I guess I don't mind it that much.
Yeah.
But it's not really fair.
No, it's not really. I agree. It doesn't really bother me right now, at least since we're only a couple episodes in, but maybe as the course of the season goes on. But I mean, I guess maybe that was something that she said, right from the start. I will be on
sure. I think
this is if you want me on the show, I'm not showing you my
non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did see the closet, so that's really awesome.
Yeah, we got to see our closet. What else do we need, really?
Do you think that they were giving Erin a bit too much of a hard time, though, about because I mean, she welcomes them to her beautiful home. I mean, but she didn't have
be pissed off if I watched this from the back and I was Erin. It's a gorgeous house in the freaking Hamptons, which is real estate of the celebrity world. It's probably one of the most expensive places you could live in the world. And she invited you in. It was gorgeous. I would be pissed if I were her.
I'd be pissed too. Would you be pissed that Jenna left the sleepover?
Yeah. You gotta if you're gonna be a housewife, you gotta at least stay for the house.
You gotta,
for the sleepover.
All right, let's head on over to OC, where Emily had this pool party in her mother-in-law's backyard.
Yeah.
Sign me up for that family. I mean, that party, that backyard was beautiful. And it seemed like we had some sort of resolution between Jen and Tamra, but I feel like things are just getting started. Kind of like what, in a conversation with Emily, she said, this is just rearing its ugly head.
Yeah, I feel like there's more to come here. I feel like Tamra almost brought Jen into the season. This is going to be my storyline, talking about storylines earlier. I feel like this is her ticket back into the show. So I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately for Jen, she is wrong place, wrong time. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if her relationship survives all of this too, because I spoke to Emily and she said that Jennifer's boyfriend Ryan is a walking neon red flag. So I mean, he is doesn't seem like he has any fans, you know, on this show, but we'll have to wait and see. But it was so nice that Vicky was back, the Tres Amigas, back together again, taking shots and doing what they do best.
Quickly destroying Shannon's relationship.
You know,
in a matter of seconds.
In a matter of seconds. I just love that Vicky was just sitting there at the end, though, too, just, you know, drinking alone. But, you know, it is interesting that, you know, Shannon, you know, gets up, talks to producers like, this is going to ruin my relationship. I wonder what this bombshell could be. And if this really did have any lasting effect on Shannon's relationship. I mean, they're not together anymore, so it had something to do with it, but
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like you can't do that either. Like, you can't get up and be like, producers, they can't bring this up. You're a housewife. You've been doing this for a very long time, Shannon.
You know better.
How it works.
Yeah. You know better. Yeah, for sure.
But still loving OC this season too.
Me too. And I don't know if you noticed, but Gina wore this shirt in this week's episode.
I love it.
I was like, wait a second, I own that shirt too. I'm gonna go find it. I just found it in the bottom of my closet.
I love that
That's
so
for
much.
camera, but you know, I just felt like
I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, it seems like she and, you know, her ex, they all are co-parenting really well together based on, like, you know, everything that they went through. It's shocking that they've come to this point. You know, they had like domestic violence incident, things like that. Like, for them to like put their differences aside for their family, like, really speaks volumes.
Definitely.
So, yeah, good for them. All right, well, heading on over to Atlanta, well, actually Portugal, because they're still on their trip. You know, Drew is kind of breaking down over her lawsuit, and then we have one of Candy's, I would say, one of her finer moments in recent years, when she's like, everybody gets up and leaves, and she's like, end scene. So that was a running joke throughout the entire episode. But you know, it seems like Drew is kind of dropping these little hints that things with her and Ralph aren't good. You know, she doesn't really trust him in Vegas with this woman. So and then based on the teaser that we see, this kind of all blows up in the next few weeks. So and then, you know, Candy not available for the group, kind of doing her own thing. Kenya falls on her back. Sonia getting upset about her family. I mean, I said it before, it just like something about this cast is just not gelling for me. I don't know if they have to do like a RHONY type of thing, or they just kind of like start all over again, but like something. I
think that's time.
Yeah. Or it's like maybe like a piece of a puzzle is missing, kind of like with OC, maybe bring somebody back that was part of this friend group in the beginning, because it just seems like there's just a lot of disconnect and they're not real friends.
They're not real friends. I mean, you just said like Candy's not available for the group. Like, where is she? You know, why is she not in the mix here?
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think it's got to do Atlanta, the new era.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But, you know, let's get into our social spotlight, because I think Kim Zolciak might be available but she is now selling some of her daughter Brielle's bags on Instagram. So if you want a $20,000 Louis Vuitton, then make sure you check this out.
Is Louis Vuitton even that expensive in the first place?
No, I think that somebody sent another thing that, like, if you go on like a Poshmark or something like that, you can buy the same bag for $4,000. So.
The Chanel bag is cute.
Yeah, no, there are some nice pieces, but I'm sure
you're okay with this,
right? I know. Like, it's just all right. We got a Chanel bag brand new for $6,800. I don't know if that's a steal or not.
I don't know.
But yeah, no, they got a lot of designer bags over here.
Yeah, they do. Mine goes to Andy Cohen. He shared this video on his Instagram. He's just having a conversation with his son Benjamin in the back seat. Benjamin's always in a bad mood because he's in his terrible twos, and Andy shares these moments. It's so cute. Take a look.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you're going to have such a bad day. Well, maybe your calculations say the afternoon will get a little better? What do you think?
No, that doesn't. Do you remember you were listening, you remember when we were talking and you said that and when we were going back home from camp, we said that you were gonna change my calculations.
Yeah, that I'm not going to change your calculations. Yeah. That is correct. I am done changing your calculations, Ben. So if your calculations are that camp is going to be bad today, then I guess camp's going to be bad today, right? How bad will it be?
$1 million.
$1 million? Oh, man. Well, I'm sorry camp's going to be so bad today. I agree.
I love it.
I love it so much. So good. All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode of Getting Real with the Housewives. If you want some more Housewives news, head on over to usmagazine.com and let us know in the comments what you're loving about RHONY, what you maybe if you agree or disagree with us about the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And we will see you guys next week. Bye. For more news content and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.